Victims were not children. Suspect was hit by a car while fleeing the scene. Tempe Fire Medical Rescue is treating 3 patients. 2 are in critical condition and are being transported
Who's here?
to
You're here.
trauma centers.
Well, like it
Third
does.
patient has minor injuries. The third patient has minor injuries. This is at 900 West Grove Parkway.
He doesn't like to come out on Friday.
Looks like we're going to talk to officers right now.
I would.
Go ahead.
And I don't know if Mike is doing that status.
On 1212? Yes.
He's going for your
Make sure it doesn't fall.
Okay, one
He's
more.
going for your gun.
And do you want to just clip that on your
Yep.
belt somewhere? Thank you.
All right, you guys tell me when you're ready.
Okay, everybody good? We're good? Everybody good?
1 second here. Okay, I'm good.
Would you like to say, Lieutenant, name, rank, and serial number for the vast viewing public at home?
Lieutenant Chris McCormick, the Tempe Police Department.
Spelling your last name, Chris?
MCCORMICK.
Kind of a weird one. What happened?
Officers responded out here this evening to a welfare check, and once we approached an apartment, 2 officers arrived and they heard people from inside the apartment yelling for help. Officers were able to force entry into the apartment, and upon kicking the door in, they observed 1 male suspect actively stabbing one of 2 victims that were inside the apartment. Once the suspect realized that police were immediately there, that suspect ran into the bedroom and jumped out a 2nd-story window and out here onto Grove Parkway. Those officers were able to give chase and catch up with the suspect, who was still armed with a knife. At that point, the suspect darted into traffic, stopping traffic abruptly. Officers approached and were able to successfully take him into custody with use of a taser, less lethal device. We recovered the knife a few feet from the suspect, and the suspect was transported to a local hospital. One of the victims succumbed to his injuries and was pronounced deceased at one local hospital, and a second victim was also transported to the hospital.
Was the male or female pronounced deceased?
Male victim.
Male victim. Was somebody hit by this white van? Was the suspect hit by that white van?
The suspect made contact with the van.
Nothing.
I wouldn't say he was hurt or struck by it, but he did make contact with it.
Lieutenant, a great deal of restraint. I'm throwing you a softball for the police department. I mean, this guy's an armed, dangerous suspect, and you decided to take him out with a taser?
Yes, our officers are well trained, and for situations exactly like this. And while lethal force is an option in this scenario, one of our officers was able to subdue the subject or the suspect prior to having to get to that level of force with our less lethal device, which is the taser.
Could you describe 2 victims for me? I'm a little vague on this one. Your 2 victims?
At this point, we're going to release that it's a male and a female victim.
Are they related to the suspect?
Yes, we are investigating this as a domestic violence incident, and obviously also a homicide.
So at this point in time, though, you're not going to give the relationship of the domesticity between the suspect and the victim?
Correct, sir.
How did the welfare check start? Did somebody call here screaming first?
We got multiple calls, and that's all we can really share at this point. But we did receive several calls.
Are those neighbors that just heard screaming and called police or anything like that?
All I can really say at this point is that we received several calls.
Did the suspect receive any injuries jumping off a 2nd-story building?
There were some minor injuries sustained from a myriad of issues with the suspect, but he doesn't have any life-threatening issues, just more minor injuries.
Do you have any information on the female that died, or her approximate age or anything like that?
At this point, just a female victim.
Okay.
Is all we can say.
And the male died?
Correct.
Correct. So the female's alive in critical condition?
Yes.
Is there a child involved at all?
No, there are no children in the residence. We're dealing with all adults, and there are no outstanding suspects or public safety issues at all. It's a contained incident at this point, with no issues.
So it's basically, if I use my math, there were only 3 people at the apartment at the time that your officers made entry.
There was another victim in the apartment that was not stabbed, but there was a 4th person present who's currently being interviewed.
Male victim deceased, female victim. Do you know if she's in critical condition or anything?
I don't have that information right now.
Thanks so much.
All right.
Lieutenant, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
We are not that one. I'm so sorry.
I got to get untangled.
We are this one. No worries. No.
And I actually have.
So just to reiterate, that was out of Tempe, Arizona. It sounds like 1 dead. Officers received multiple calls about screaming coming from that Tempe apartment complex on Grove Parkway. They pulled up, knocked, no one answered, busted down the door, and as they entered, they saw the suspect literally in the midst of stabbing this male and this female. They're considering it a domestic violence altercation, but they won't give us the relationships. Pretty horrific incident. The suspect then jumped out of the window and it wasn't necessarily struck by a vehicle, but they did tase the suspect. It's a very unfortunate situation. We're going to have all of that and more for you tonight on our 9 p.m. television news broadcast. And if you'd like to watch that, you can watch that at fox10phoenix.com/live. Again, that's fox10phoenix.com/live. And it sounded like Nicole Garcia was on that story, if I heard her voice correctly. But we're going to have more on that stabbing incident out of Tempe this evening on our 9 and 10 p.m. broadcast. A really scary, scary incident that happened. Actually, it's happening right now, just happened, and that was a live press conference with the Tempe Police Department. I'll give you another live look here before we transition back into some politics.